Baby is the parasitic life form that made everybody's life a living hell in Dragon Ball GT and the most important villain of the series. In fact, I would go so far as to say he's probably my favorite, probably the best villain Toriyama did not come up with. His backstory is great, but his transformations are awesome, and there's been a lot of confusion throughout the years about his transformations and what they actually are, so I decided, hey, he deserves his own edition of the transformation guide. So today we're going to look into Baby and his various forms. Sit back and let's talk about it. So the information presented in this video is going to be taken directly from the Dragon Ball GT Perfect Files guidebook that came out many years ago, not from any other source except for the anime itself. Of course, when it comes to the guidebooks, even though they are official material released by Shueisha that Toriyama is supposedly involved in, perhaps not the GT ones, but definitely the ones from Dragon Ball and Z, even though we don't know exactly how much involvement Toriyama actually has, he never really told us, and there are contradictions in these things, you have to take it with a grain of salt. But when it comes to the GT Perfect Files, I have found that they seem to synchronize pretty well with the anime. Some of the other guidebooks have weird inconsistencies and weird stuff like timeline problems and things like that. But the GT Perfect Files, when it comes to Baby's forms, explaining what they are based on what we see in the anime, all fit together really well. So to me, it's the best source of information besides actually watching the anime. They both go hand in hand, and that's a good thing. So Baby is what's known as a Sufurujin, or a Sufurian. In the English dub, for some reason, I don't really know why, it's a carryover from the old Ocean dub that would screw around with the scripts, and GT's script was absolutely horrible. If you've seen GT dubbed, turn on the subtitles and watch it dubbed and you'll see how many differences there are. It's just absurdly bad. But for some reason, they call them tuffles, and I've never been a fan of that word at all. So for this video, I'm going to call them Sufurians or Sufurujin, whatever you want to call them. You know what I'm talking about. It's the Sufurians. That's Baby's race, and Baby's whole backstory about wanting revenge against the Saiyans to me is pretty damn cool. But we're not really going to get into that here on this video so much, but we have to discuss his origin as it relates to his transformations, because this is the transformation guide, so we're going to focus on that primarily. Man, I just realized I really sound like a teacher, don't I? Anyways, like I said, Baby is a parasite, one that absorbs energy from other life forms, transforms a lot, but also can make you into a slave by leaving a seed in your brain and kind of infesting you and taking over you or infecting you or whatever the case is. One of the more creative ideas behind a Dragon Ball villain, because like I said, it's like Majin Buu, but with even more power, even more abilities, because Buu can't really take control of people and then leave their body. You know what I mean? But Baby can do that. So the whole thing kind of started with Baby's first form, which is much like Cell, Baby's larva form. He's basically a parasitic artificial life form who has the cells of King Sufuru. So even though he is a Sufurian, he's only that based on being given Sufurian cells, sort of like, well, the character of Cell. It's very similar to that. You know, he's not a naturally born character. He's, I hate to say it, but he's a test tube baby. Point blank, he's a test tube baby. That's what Baby is. Maybe that's why I call him Baby. I don't know. But anyways, after the destruction of Planet Plant, he evolved into his larva form and drifted through space until he was found by Dr. Miyu. But there's a twist. As we found out in Dragon Ball GT, we find out that Baby actually created Dr. Miyu, not the other way around. So they kind of twisted the whole Dr. Gero or Gero in the dub and Cell thing in reverse, which I always thought was a really cool idea. But anyways, together they kind of grew in power using the machine mutants and whatnot. Then we get to Baby's second form, which is his, I guess you can call it Kid Baby or Baby's child form. It's actually referred to as Baby's child form in Dragon Ball GT's Perfect Files. So Baby escapes planet M2 and starts to infect a bunch of innocent people on Earth, absorbing their power and getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and began to infect some of the Z fighters until he finally got to Vegeta, which is where he really became a problem. This is when we're introduced to Baby Vegeta. Now in the Japanese version, they refer to this form as Vegeta Baby or Vegeta Baby. If you watch some of my old videos, I actually refer to Baby as Baby because I went with the Japanese pronunciation, but it's really the same thing because baby and Baby are the same word, so it's whatever you want to call it. Either way, this form, Vegeta Baby, Baby Vegeta, really became the primary antagonist of the Baby arc. We saw him in this form more than any other form. So what we have here is we have the power of this artificial Safurian, parasite combined with Vegeta's awesome power. Remember, Vegeta still was able to do Super Saiyan 2 at a very high level in GT. He was still probably the second strongest character of the good guys. You can probably make an argument that Oob surpassed him, but that's for a different video. Either way, this became a dangerous situation because now we have Vegeta again as a villain, this time being controlled by Baby. Not to mention that Baby also controlled Bulma, and that means you've got brawn and you've got brains on the side of evil. And it's interesting because when he took over Vegeta pretty much looks very similar, except now his face and his eyes have these weird lines that are supposed to represent kind of being mechanical. Safurians don't really look like that. It's just more so the machine mutants and Baby that have that kind of characteristic. But the hair is not gold. It's like a silverish white. And that's interesting because it's kind of like an early version of Super Saiyan White. This is kind of what it would look like, right? And if you look at his eyes, they look like General Rildo. So again, that goes with that whole mechanical thing. Then we get to what's referred to as Super Baby, and things get a little bit confusing here because there's actually two different versions of Super Baby. Super Baby Form 1 and Super Baby Form 2. And for a very long time, it was confusing because I wasn't sure where the origins of this came from, but no, it's right here in the GT Perfect files. By the way, on a side note, one thing I love about this version of Baby is the Revenge Death Ball. One of the coolest moves in GT. It's almost like an evil Genki Dama. I might do a separate video just on the Revenge Death Ball because I always love that move. But anyways, strongest form number 1, that's what they call it in the GT Perfect file, Super Baby 1. Basically, now the way it looks is his eyes have this kind of glossy look and his hair got longer. And there are these like sort of mechanical wings looking things on his shoulders. Very unusual, but very creative look for a villain. He also has these like red patches on his body, on his chest, on his forehead, a very unique look, like I said, for a villain, and he's become a hell of a lot stronger and a much bigger problem, but that does not compare to Super Baby 2 or Super Baby's strongest form 2. In this case, he's now even more powerful. His hair's even longer, and his costume now looks a little bit more like it did in Baby's child form. So what appears to be going on here is the longer he's in Vegeta's body, the more he begins to assimilate Vegeta, and the more Vegeta takes on Baby's characteristics while Baby is absorbing his incredible Saiyan power. So I always found that to be a pretty cool thing, how he slowly sort of evolves into this, really a mutant. I hate to say it, but it's a machine mutant, but it's also a mutant among itself because you have a Saiyan Safurian hybrid who's now becoming more Safurian as time goes by. It really reminds me of The Fly. Have you ever seen that movie with Jeff Goldblum? How he's slowly mutating worse and worse and worse. Go see that movie if you haven't seen it, because it's really, really good and pretty damn heart-wrenching, but very powerful film. But anyways, I digress. This version of Baby is so strong, he's able to handle Super Saiyan 3 Goku. This is a powerful, powerful character. I believe the video games give these forms different names. Like I think I remember Dokkan Battle calls it Tuffle Power Evolve Super Baby, and one of the other card games calls it like Super Baby Parasitic Menace. Either way, it's all the same thing. So to keep it simple, let's just call it Super Baby 1, Super Baby 2, but don't get it twisted. This has nothing to do with Super Saiyan 1 and 2. That's not what it has to do with. It's just Baby sort of mutating inside of Vegeta, gaining more strength, not new Super Saiyan forms. But he does gain a new form for Vegeta, that is, and that is Golden Great Ape, Golden Uzaru Baby, the most powerful version of Baby we see in Dragon Ball GT. So Baby Vegeta is exposed to 1,000 times the normal amount of Brutes waves or Blutz waves and becomes an incredible power and is actually able to temporarily surpass Super Saiyan 4 until Goku regains his energy and goes into full power during the fight. Now understand the difference between Baby's Golden Uzaru and Goku's is that Goku had no control over it, and thus he had to gain control and evolve into Super Saiyan 4 somehow. But with Baby, because Vegeta was always able to control himself in the Great Ape form, and because we have this incredible Sufurian science and Saiyan power hybrid, he was able to not only gain the power of Golden Uzaru, but control it in the best possible conditions. Even to this day, I'm still a little bit ticked off that the writers of GT did not give us two giant apes fighting. They teased it. We almost saw it here in this arc. They could have done it, and we never have seen two great apes fighting, especially two golden great apes fighting against each other. Imagine how awesome that would be, like some King Kong Godzilla type stuff right there, but we never got it. It's too bad. And you might be wondering, why couldn't Baby Vegeta ever go to SS4? Well, it's explained in the series itself that Baby Vegeta couldn't do it because of the fact that he was mostly Baby. And because of Baby's Sufurian / Tuffle genes, it made it impossible for him to achieve Super Saiyan 4, which again goes to the theory that Super Saiyan 4 is only for pure-blooded Saiyans, despite what Dragon Ball Heroes has done by giving it to, well, anybody it wants to give it to, because it's Dragon Ball Heroes. So then we have a very interesting twist that I believe was not in the English dub, which again goes back to me telling you, you gotta watch GT in the Japanese dub because they changed this. But basically what happens is Vegeta's body transforming into a golden Great Ape actually caused Baby to grow as well into his adult form, and thus Baby can no longer stay inside of Vegeta's body if he had returned back to normal size. So he was kind of stuck. And this is after Goku destroyed his tail and couldn't maintain the form. So this new like quasi-adult teenage Baby or whatever tries to escape, and then Goku, realizing that he is too dangerous to be kept alive, finishes him off with a 10 times Kamehameha. Goodbye, Baby, we hardly knew ye. I do want to say, though, that in the GT Perfect files, it was stated that Golden Great Ape Baby Vegeta is superior to Super Saiyan 4 Goku at first, until Goku gets the energy back. So that does kind of make you wonder, was Vegeta's body getting stronger in the fight, or was it because of Baby and Vegeta being fused together that gave him so much power? We may never get an answer, but to me that's always been very interesting. And much like Super Saiyan 4, Baby is another character that was designed by Katsuyoshi Nakatsuru. And that will do it for this transformation guide. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next one.